It was a goal galore weekend in week 14 of the MTN Premier League as Milling Hotspur, Vovovo, Tambute and Royal Leopard all claimed victories. Before we get into the weekend's action, here is a quick recap on the midweek result pitting Royal Leopards and Young Buffaloes to what was the rekindling of one of the fierce rivalry in local football circles. Royal Leopards, who are fresh from their CAF Confederations Cup triumph, were hoping to carry that same momentum into the MTN Premier League when they faced Young Buffaloes in a midweek forces derby at Galanga Stadium out in Sitegi. Under the scorching hot weather, water breaks were inevitable even before kick-off. The defending champions would have to dig deep within from game management to player rotation if they are to survive the drilling task of conquering Africa and reclaiming the crown locally. Meanwhile, Buffaloes went out in search of their 7th consecutive win, having last tasted defeat last year November in the hands of Moneni Pirates. Amatole were well aware that history or form will count for nothing when they meet their arch-rivals Leopards. In their last 20 meetings, Mbombela have had the upper hand, having recorded 6 wins compared to Amatole's 3 and 11 games ending in a draw. Royal Leopards were the quickest of the block with Junior Makakula's solo run from the centre marker to set up Mfanelo Tabete, who made no mistake in netting Leopards first of the match. Young Buffaloes recovered well to see their first real chance at goal squandered by Sandile Kamete, who failed to put it past the defender after a well-played play to beat the goalkeeper. Amatole were in a quick search of an equalizer, but Kamete couldn't capitalize on that despite a brilliant first touch from the skipper. Brilliant save from the captain. Soon after, Amatole were caught on the back foot again after a quick play from Makakula to set up Tabete, knitting his second to what looked more of the same pattern, a proper squad drill for the men in blue. Amatola almost benefited from clumsy defending, but their attempt was way off the target, calling for a leaky inspection from the ref. Amatola continued piling pressure on Leopards, but Mfanelo's attempt was way off goal. It was wave after wave, and Pendulo Scotch Dlamini also tried his luck from a distance, but it wasn't to be. Kamete's brilliant strike outside the penalty box was all needed to bring confidence back to Amatole. Goalkeeper Ngamiso Dlamini kept the defending champions in the game with his acrobatic saves, much to the frustration of Amatole's fans. Amatole were thrown a curveball in the closing stages when Leopards were awarded a penalty and Makakula stepping up to extend Leopards' lead 3-1 to the visitors. That's how the match will end, with Mbombela claiming all 3 points to keep up the pressure on log leaders Highlanders.
Under the circumstance, because as much as mhlawumbe besithini thina sake saba ne training session evas abuya le yabo, but bakhona nabadlali ku adapt kahle under le heat ekhona. Okay, first half bengithide kubo ababayekele iBuffalo idlale ibhola lemuva, sibuye siqale ubamaka la ku midfield up until sibuye kahle la mtimbeni, because ngilo mtimba la kongabuyi kahle. Okay, sawathola la chances amagoli amabili, and we could have scored 3 first half with the Lungelo clinical, but nje I'm happy. Second half iBuffalo yona bese ikhombisa ukuba ngetulo kwethu sakhona resista samaka and sathola goal elimqoka bese liba killer les spirit sabo.
Cabanga ukuthi indlela lesicale ngayo le game siqale phasi kakhulu kwakhanzakala ukuthi siba nenhlanhla lembi isiconsider leyo quick soft goals ngicabanga ukuthi ngiyelo silimatile kwasekhanzakala ukuthi so finally sifake amandla la ngedulo ukuthi singakhona ukuthi siba overcome at least sishintshe sinele goal ngenhlanhla leyo salifaka le goal sasinasibuya second half kwakhanzakala ukuthi nawo sebazama protector le lead bazama ukusikhonyela but I'm happy ngale effort laba ifakile la players although losile but I'm very proud of them.
Ichabod Masocha's charges were hoping last weekend's magic would rub off on them once again when they hosted Tambuti FC at the Mavusa Sports Centre. Denver Sundowns came from behind to beat Moneni Pirates in their last outing. However, they were not the only ones with an inspiring result on paper. Tambuti ended a 13-game winless streak, registering their first win against Malanti, their second of the season. Ten minutes later, Sundowns failed to clear an Andile Kadlela's free kick, seeing it roll to the back of the net. Talk about ball watching. A couple of minutes later, Tambuti almost doubled their lead through Siboniso Shiba, but his header was wide of the target. Tambuti were free-flowing up front, Msimisi Mota missing the ball by an inch. Sundowns had a chance of their own, Mike Dombo kicking wide. Paso Pikapakapa's Peggy Mota was denied by the crossbar after a long-range attempt. Msimisi continued harassing the Sundowns defense. The visitors held on to take a 1-0 lead to half-time after having a better ball position. Sundowns had the first real chance at goal in the second stanza. Soon after, Tambuti were in full swing, speed, pace and skill in search of the second, with Msimisi's attempt saved by the keeper to save Sfiso Masego's splashes. Sundowns were unlucky not to have gotten an opener after numerous attempts, Mlota's header over the crossbar. Tambuti's players were running through Sundowns midfield like a hot knife through butter and were not to be denied any longer, with Msimisi knitting Tambuti's second. The fight was far from over as Tambuti were not slowing down, creating chance after chance. Sundowns quickly regrouped and were well rewarded, courtesy of Mlota in the 70th minute. Tambuti got yet another chance, but Ayikwe Bennett was well aware of the danger. 4 minutes later, Sundowns made the most of their set-piece situation, Gabia Mohammed levelling matters for the visitors. Mohamed almost stole it for Sundowns to what would have been the perfect comeback. Minutes later, Tambuti restored their lead through Makawe Khumalo, much to the delight of coach Mdluli. 3 goals for 3 points for Tambuti as they continue with their long journey to move out of the relegation zone. To what seemed as a last kick of a dying host, Sundowns Mthokozisi Hlachwago missed out on a glorious opportunity to level matters again. That's how the cookie crumbled 3-2 in favor of Tambuti. Big result for King Clay and the boys. A struggling Manzini Wanderers were out to end their 6-game winless streak when they visited Hotspur at the Mavoso Sports Centre on Saturday afternoon. Both teams were out seeking redemption after a disastrous last outing at the hands of Mbabane Swallows and Mbabane Highlanders, respectively. Milling, who are not far from the relegation zone, knew that only a win can set them free from the intensity of the relegation battle at the bottom of the table, knowing that the bottom 4 teams at the end of the season will be relegated. Not so wonderful anymore. Wanderers are slowly feeling the pressure, and losing to Milling would be a bitter pill to swallow. Wanderers circled real quick in search of an early goal, with Neliswa Tiger Dlamini fouled outside the box, referee not making much of it, much to the frustration of Wanderers players. It was end-to-end stuff, and one could sense the urgency of an early goal from both teams. Sihle Mkhonda's long-range ball from a free kick was tipped over the bar by Bongiswa Dlamini. Bongmenzi Dlamini and Dumiso Dlamini were combining well up front, causing a much-needed commotion to hand Milling's first in the 25th minute. Milling's set pieces were proving dangerous for the visitors. Wanderers were unlucky to have not grabbed an opener after a brilliant play from the left, with Captain's Kumbuzo Ndwandwe being called to the rescue. Chances were fast coming for the visitors, but it wasn't to be on the day. Milling were feeling the heat as Wanderers continued throwing all they can up front, and their hard work was well rewarded when referee Mbongeni Shongwe pointed to the spot after a foul on Jabulo Koko Gama by Sihle Mkhonda. Neliswa Dlamini stepped up, but his kick hit the crossbar, much to the relief of Milling. (1-0) the scoreline at half-time. The second half saw the host continuing with their dominance, utilizing the football analogy of the best form of defense is attack. Milling were not to be denied in the 75th minute, with former Wanderers player Jose Machado pouncing home a loose ball to punish his former side. It was a one-way traffic as Milling were looking to put the match beyond Liwesale's reach. Dlamini almost produced a moment of brilliance, but they were denied by the crossbar. With 5 minutes remaining, Wanderers managed to restore some hope through Dlamini. That, however, would be the last kick of the match, with goalkeeper Sfiso Masego walking away with the Man of the Match award.
Ngicabanga ukuthi ngisho ukuthi cishe ihambe endlela besilungiselele ngayo but besicabanga ukuthi kutawuba angeke kube lukhuni kanje but hey bekutough lamajidadla akhona ukucombine, they can take shots at goal but nje we tried and ngicabanga our goalkeeper ufuna mhla ngelo sisite kakhulu because if it wasn't for him mhlambe ngabe siconsider about 3 but nje nathi sibapanishile ngecounter because besathi ukuthi vele they will come with everything they have. But sikhonile ukuthi ngama-counters akhona lamanye sawageja ngicabanga ukuthi it went according to the plans.
Game namhla besidlala ibhola ngapha lose ama-chances shoko ukuthi vele nangabe langa lakho akusile ngoba si-creative samede besidlala kahle ngokubuka kwami. Lokushintshile ukuthi nayisuka le bhola besibeke vele sifuna kuba pressurize lembili singafuni betekethe vele siwatholile ama-chances sawayekela kodwa nje besithi siya-overloada embili yabona. Ebholeni uhlala une-pressure nje ebholeni noma uyawina une-pressure ukuthi awufuni kuwina nawudliwa-ke iwesi but kodwa le ngikubonile mina siwatholile lamathuba abantu sawayekela.
Fresh from their 3-1 defeat against the Leopards, the young Buffaloes were looking to bounce back and keep up with the leading pack at the top of the MTN Premier League log. Babane Swallows, who are slowly climbing up, were hoping to continue with their impressive form that has seen them make a top 5 entry when they travelled to Galanga in Sitegi. Assistant coach Musa Manyati made a couple of changes that saw Sfiso Mabila captain the side, with Tony Tabete sitting it out. Tabete, who has been prolific in Swallows' past success, has been a notable switch in Swallows' recent tactical changes. Buffaloes saw the return of Piwa Inkosi Lwabelwabe Dlamini, who was in for an injured Sifiso Mazibuko. Swallows got the first chance through Felix Badenhorst, who shot wide. Young Buffaloes were on attack soon after that, a great interplay between Sandile Saviola Gamete and Lwabelwabe in search of an opener. A super runner from Bongwa Matsebula to set up Piwa, who made no mistake, netting his second of the season, proving why he will forever be one of the trusted strikers in front of goal. 1-0 to Young Buffaloes. Amatole were on attack again, with Saviola's attempt coming off the goal post. Swallows were threatening and were soon rewarded in the closing stages of the half, Sandile Hlachwago levelling matters in the 42nd minute. The second half failed to yield any goals, but the action was as intense. Nhlanhla's cross was met by Hlachwago but was easily dealt with by Phumlani Ngobese, who was well positioned. Young Buffaloes should have restored their lead, Saviola in the thick of things again. Leon Manyesa's quick reaction was enough to deny Young Buffaloes. Hlachwago was the busiest of the day, his long range saved by Ngobese. That's how the match will end, with a 1-0 scoreline.
Akusiyo i-result lebengiyibhekile ngoba bengidlala ekhaya. Ngicabanga ukuthi I'm very disappointed ngale result because ama-chances siwatholile kuba nge-interest game siyi-11 but nje from a loss bese kufanele sizahle kanje kuba ngcono akufanele nokuthi khambize ama-loss abanzima.
Kithi sigainile that point esitholile, knowing ukuthi Buffalo is not an easy team to play with. They're a strong side, so to us it's a gain. And now buka kule position lesikuyo akucinga ukuthi drop lokho njani ema-point ukuthi unceba ngakudla 3 points, so it's 1 point in the back. We really appreciate that.
A high-flying Leopards left nothing to chance on Sunday when they travelled to Nhlangano to face an unpredictable Seabirds at the King Sophoza II Memorial Stadium. Leopards, who are gunning for the first round 200,000 Emalangeni incentive, knew the task at hand on the day. Seabirds, who are no longer in the run to win the first round carrot, were not going to be a walkover, with their eyes firmly locked on the big prize. Leopards wanted to draw the first blood with Junior Makakula combining well with Lungelo Tabeze, calling Bafana Ngwenya to play, who was well equaled to the task. Leopards were looking to capitalize from a set piece with Sfiso Mate heading wide. Seabirds were in search of their first of the match with Begumuzi Mamba's attempt way off the target. Leopards were patient, building from the back with Lungelo Tabete setting up a one-on-one situation with Bafana Ngwenya. His touch enough to keep it out. It's how the half will end, failing to produce any goals. Seabirds wanted more from the match, Muzi Tabete setting up Sandumuzi Zwane, who was too casual for it. Barry Stenkamp was looking for a moment of brilliance with an overhead kick that failed to find the target. Christian Twala's tactical change proved to be the difference, bringing in Mtogoze Sekwebu for Kalani Choko Sibanze. In his first touch of the match, Kwebu's fresh legs saw Inyoni Zolwandle being awarded a penalty after being fouled by Linda Mbuli. Kwebu took responsibility and missed. Soon after that, Seabirds were made to rue their missed chance as Ingwe Mabalabala got a penalty of their own. Junior Makakula, who is in red-hot form, stepped up netting his first on the day, his 7th of the season. Leopards should have extended their lead, Wandile Smelane's attempt coming off the post. Makakula wrapped up the match for Leopard in the 69th minute to see himself claim the top 3 spot in the top scorers chart, a goal behind the second-placed Muzi Tabete and 6 goals behind leader Sabelos Kalinzinisa respectively.
Yeah, ngicabanga ukuthi now congratulations to my boys. It's a better I see team lelula kuyidla but bakhona nje resist. Mhlawumbe under lokushisa lokhona la. First half okay ngatshela ukuthi sibhethe tawuhlala phambili kwepha. So the game plan was to come Malama side. Man, first half, they were not giving especially our midfielders, they were not giving the fullbacks left for that's why it's not going to help. So enough for Machele to have any fullbacks as well because you're not going to break down of Nega on it's happening that Toma. And that's exactly that is the story.
Good Telangakala. Nanyalo la nasihlale kahle, it was in our game to win. We got chances, sawamisa leswamisile. Ngabe nathi ngithi ama winners if we scored all the chances we got. A penalty is one of those set pieces we have in football. kugeja penalty is part of the game vele na ugejile kutaba nako lokuthi wehle phansi but siqhubekile sathola ama chances we could have equalized ama chances eswatholile nyaka which means we are egameni we missed those chances kukhona ama games in football ongeke vele uzwawe like we missed so many chances we had 3 second half point blanks with the goalkeeper.
A quick recap on some of the results. Tabankulu Kellys played to a 1-1 draw with Tinyosi. Malandi Chiefs leapfrogged Tambuti at the bottom after registering their second win of the season against the Rangers. Big result for Vovovo FC winning against Moneni Pirates. Football fans will be treated to a midweek encounter pitting Seabirds and Green Mamba at the Prince of Wales Stadium. Meanwhile, they would have to wait for 6 weeks to see the Mbabane Highlanders Royal Leopard fixture due to Leopards' involvement in the CAF Confederations Cup. After week 14 of the MTN Premier League, Highlanders are at the top of the log with 33 points, a point separating them with second-placed Leopards. A point against the Swallows was enough for Buffaloes to topple Seabirds to the third spot on 27 points. There was no major shift at the bottom of the table despite Malandi and Tambuti's wins over the weekend.